Hey there, Jennifer here. Today I'm going to show you how to do tapestry crochet using double crochet stitches. For this tutorial, I'm using an octagon motif from my Very Merry blanket pattern. I'll go ahead and leave a link to the pattern in the notes. This pattern calls for medium weight yarn and a G6 or 4mm hook. For this tutorial, I'll be using two colors of yarn, one main color and one contrasting color, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. When it comes to choosing the right hook for your project, in addition to gauge of course, you'll want to keep in mind that tapestry crochet looks best with fairly tight stitches, as it helps prevent the second strand from being visible between the stitches. To help you choose the right hook for your project, you may want to make a few motifs using a different size hook for each. Use the hook for your project that produces the best result with your chosen yarn. So for this project, we just have the two colors for this round. We're going to use white as the main color and green as the contrasting color. And what makes a tapestry crochet is that for the color that you're not using, you're always going to carry that color along the top of the stitches, and you're going to be working your stitches over that contrasting color that's not in use. So again, you're going to make a double crochet into this stitch over the yarn that's not in use, encasing it, enclosing it in that stitch. And when it comes time to change color, so I want to make this stitch here, I'm going to want to make that green. So I'm going to need to change color before I get to that stitch. You're going to want to change color in the stitch just before that. Okay, so we're getting ready to change color. But before we do, let's go ahead and turn it over. And 9 times out of 10, you may notice, especially when you have a long stretch where you're carrying that color underneath the stitches or inside the stitches, oftentimes you'll notice that you might see the color that's being carried across. You might notice it poking through. And while it may be unsightly, it is something that we can take care of. It's not that big of a deal. To take care of it, to deal with this, you just want to hold the last stitch that was worked in that color. You want to hold it between your thumb and forefinger, and then go ahead and find the yarn that's being carried across there and pull on it gently but firmly. And you can kind of feel it underneath your thumb. You can feel it tightening up as this stitch gets tighter and the space between those two stitches cinches up. When you flip it over, you should notice that you don't see the contrasting color quite as much. So by pulling that tight, you don't want to pull it so tight that it makes the fabric pucker, and you don't want it to be so loose that you see the stitches through. You want it to be just even. And I guess over time you'll get accustomed, or you'll be able to recognize what the proper tension is. But really, like I said, as long as you just make it even, you want it to be tight enough so that it's even and laying flat there on top of those stitches. All right, this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my yarn back up. And remember, again, we're going to be changing to the new color, changing back to green in this next stitch. To do that, you'll want to work this next stitch as you would normally, but stop before you get to the last yarn over. Drop your white yarn and pick up your green yarn. Yarn over and pull through with the new color. So now that we've got the green on the hook, we know that the next stitch will be green. Yarn over and working over that white yarn, go ahead and make the next stitch, the next double crochet in green. So once again, you're going to be working over the white yarn into the next stitch, and then we're going to switch back to white on this stitch. So we're going to work the next stitch the next double crochet to the last yarn over, and then we're going to drop the green and pick up the white, yarn over with the white, and pull through the 2 loops. So now we know we've got white on the hook and we're ready to work white for the next stitch. So we're going to work over green and make a double crochet in white in the next stitches. So you see it's pretty easy actually. But the one difficult thing that people sometimes run into trouble with is getting your yarns tangled. That is can be a problem with tapestry crochet, but I have a solution. I have a way of preventing that. I'm just going to undo this a little bit so I can show you what I mean. So let's go back to that stitch right before we made the color change. You'll notice something here. I keep putting my yarns back in the same spot, and that's really what the trick is. You want, for me, I like to keep the main color, in this case white, I like to keep it in front of my work. And then I keep my contrasting color in back. Whatever positions you decide on, just make sure that they always return to that position. What I mean by that is, anytime you're changing color, for instance, let's do this next stitch, we're going to change color. After we make the first half of the stitch in white, I'm going to drop the yarn in front. I'm going to pick up the green from the back, pull through to complete the stitch. And then I'm going to work my green stitches Now it's time on this third stitch to change back to white. I'm going to return my green to the back and I'm going to pick up my white from the front and pull through. And now I'm ready to continue working over the green to continue with white stitches. So really what you want to be careful of is when you're changing color, you always want to pick up your yarn from its designated position relative to the yarn you're putting down. So you'll always pick up this yarn. When you're picking up your main color that's in front, you always want to pick it up in front of your green yarn. So the white yarn will always be picked up in front of the green yarn. And when it's time for me to switch back to green, I'm always going to pick up the green behind the white yarn. So you're always putting them back and picking them up from their designated spots. And as long as you do that, you shouldn't have any problems with your yarns tangling. So I think that completes our tutorial on how to do tapestry crochet using double crochet stitches. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you have any other ideas for like special stitches or techniques or any other topics that you'd think I should cover with these tutorials, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what your ideas are. Well, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this and I look forward to seeing you next time.